Everyone.
We're in the wrong places and I can't cope.
Oh, well, that was the order you came in. What did you call it? I'm always really conscious of it. Did you call it the millennial pause, Kat?
Yes.
I'm always really conscious of it at the beginning now. Like, hello, everyone.
Yeah. So look, but really and truly, anybody who has an issue with like millennial pauses, side partings, or any of the other things that we do, like, I get it. Because, yeah, we definitely picked on the older generation. We've definitely had a mild ribbing at the younger generation. But ultimately, if we were raised on Sunny Delight, Y2K, and just casual beatings from our parents, if you really think we give a shiny that we stop and wait to see if something's recording before we start talking, we aren't the same, babe. And that's fine.
I'm glad you agree. Fine. I'm glad you think like that.
It does feel a lot like people who complain about millennial pauses. I'm like, do you want to just stop borrowing trouble? That's what it is. They're borrowing trouble.
Yeah, they're liking to make something out of nothing.
Yeah. It's because, do you know what it is? Because they're not out drinking shots. Go to a nightclub.
Yeah, they don't drink in it.
16 sambucas, puke on your shoes and fall asleep in a kebab. Then maybe you'll unclench.
Hi, Sharon.
Welcome, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Hello. There you go. Baptism of fire.
Yeah. Which I think might have been a shot that I once drank.
If it's not, that is such a good name for a shot.
Baptism of fire. What happened to her? She had 20 baptisms of fire.
And now she can see through time and space and she thinks her name's Dave. She's a hobgoblin that lives in a cupboard. That's what's happened now.
Sharon, thank you for joining us. The chaos has ensued already.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Before we get too rowdy already, Kat is going to do the disclaimer, which, buckle up for this, to be fair. We almost need a disclaimer for the disclaimer, but...
I just have to say really quickly, when I messaged Sharon this morning, she went to me, I'll be on my best behaviour. And I was like, please don't.
I'm already thinking I really didn't need to say that.
No, you're good.
That's not the remit here. That's not the MO. Friends, welcome. It's now 8:20. I had a little rant about millennial pauses. So there we are. This is History After Dark. We called that for a variety of reasons. Chief amongst them is we were looking for a space where we could come from our platforms where we don't swear and let our freak flags fly. This is that place. This is where we indulge in our love of the four-letter expletive, filth, innuendo, innuendo, smut and general depravity. If you are in an open plan office with a judgmental boss, put a headphone in. If you are in a kitchen, under the stairs, an airing cupboard with a child, we call this child Timmy. Get your mugs out. Get your mugs out for the lads. Timmy's a problem. We've got merch, friends. Timmy's the sort of child that heals one depraved thing one time, knocks it away in his mind palace, takes it to school with him, and then repeats it in front of his teacher, who in my head is Miss Honey from Matilda. She, of course, God love her, does not watch History After Dark, so she doesn't know the first cardinal rule of History After Dark, which is, if you don't know what it means, don't Google it. It's just not for you, and that's fine. Not everything is for anybody. Well, anyway, she Googles it, and before you know it, she's in the fetal position in the corner of the room, rocking back and forth, non-verbal. Not ideal for a reception year teacher. So you're now on the hook for all the therapy it's going to take to get her upright and verbal again, and you've also got to explain to social services why Timmy knows this thing. Ain't nobody got time for that. Put headphone in. Alternatively, you can always watch us on the playback. Because we're live. I would recommend, though, watching us live, because there is a very real possibility we might say something that's so unspeakable we have to yeet the footage into the sun. It's happened once before, which means one of three things. Either we are due another one, likely, or maybe we've improved, unlikely. Third, possibly the most likely, we should have yeeted loads of other stuff up until now, but we've spent so much time together that the bar is officially in hell. So, with that being said, I think it's very clear what's going on here. At no point do I want to see in these comments, nor in any of our individual social media comments, anything along the lines of, well, I really enjoy the history of History After Dark, but must you swear so much? It's most indecorous. First of all, yes, I must swear. I've got 2 small children, and I need to do this for me. It's my me time. Some people go to a spa. I say fuck. We're all different, all right? We also know what you want. If you want us to pin that comment so people can come into the comments and humiliate you publicly, because that's your kink, isn't it? And I won't shame you for your kink. They might, but I won't. What I will shame you for is doing your kinks with people without consent. Now, we all know about Tiffany. She has franchised, and she's got all sorts of friends in. Leona, Amy, Debbie, they're all working together now. It's a syndicate in various basements on Earth. And they are dominatrixes, right? They've got wipe clean clothes, wipe clean walls, and they will do unspeakable things to you with a jammy dodger and a 99 Mr. Whippy, all right? But for that, you've got to pay your money, because guess what? A 99 Mr. Whippy don't cost 99 anymore, does it? It costs about £5.60. So it's like £9.50 for a 99 flake. And if you're going to get a double flake, missus, you're going to need all of the $1. So you pay your money and you take your choice. This, friends, is never going to be a drinking game. But you're all adults. My God, I hope you're all adults. This is not legal nor medical advice. Please do not sue. This is History After Dark. Let's talk about a medieval badass.
Sharon, thank you so much.
Sharon?
You're all lucky I'm here. I missed the rapture for this. I hope you appreciate that.
Now I am now up to speed. What the heck? What the heck?
I had to wash up. I wasn't going to wash up this morning. I thought, well, if the rapture's coming, why bother? And then he didn't turn up, so I've had to do all the bloody washing up this afternoon.
It's not a good time, is it?
You can't promise something like that and then not deliver. It's not fair.
I mean, in fairness, we are on rapture number 865 million currently, so it has been promised fairly often.
Oh dear. Bloody men.
I want to know when the next one's around. I want to know when the next one comes around and like offer people like really ridiculous prices for their house.
I'll give you 20 quid.
What was interesting was all of the people that were talking about knowing the rapture was coming, they were going to be raptured. None of them gave all of their stuff away to charity.
No,
none of that happened. Very interesting.
Also, I have a question about this, right? It's given a set date, fair enough. Okay. But what about time zones?
So you mean it might still be a few hours away?
Yeah, is it like Santa? It starts in Australia.
I mean, I don't wish to concern you, but I will let you know that the parameters have also moved, because they are now including the 24th as a possible rapture date.
Oh man!
All right.
So washing up free.
Well, if you don't see me again after tomorrow, you know my time came.
Yeah.
They aren't taking you.
Me was like, oh no, don't want to offend anyone by mentioning the rapture. I thought, if they're watching this, they ain't going to be offended by that. And if they are, they're in the wrong place.
Yeah. If us joking about the rapture not happening is offensive to you, babes, I fear you clutch your pearls tighter.
My goodness, what are people like?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're all still here. We are not the chosen.
Nobody got sucked off.
No.
If you don't watch Ghosts, then you don't get that reference. It just sounds like Catherine's offered you a blowy, but that's a Ghost reference.
Right. Okay. I didn't know that either.
No, I didn't.
I was just being vulgar. I didn't know it was a reference.
Cat nearly saved you then, and you didn't.
It was a reference. I thought it was a reference to the TV series Ghosts, because when the ghosts talk about how they've been sucked off, if someone goes up to like sees the light, they get sucked off. It's the joke. So I thought you were referencing that.
No,
but no, it's just a filthy bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we talk about Nicholaa rather than Catherine's vulgarity?
Yes, let's.
Anyway, Sharon, I'm so sorry.
So, yeah.
I'd like to see it's going to get better, but I can't offer you any guarantees.
So this is our final episode of the Trailblazer series, is it? Or is it?
No.
Wait, no,
We're
it's
halfway through.
Halfway through.
Anyway, well, I can't keep track. We're doing very well. We're having all these different series in the year, but then I can't keep track. Okay. So, but our live as part of the first half of the series with Sharon Bennett Connolly, and your trailblazer, Sharon, is Nicholaa de la Haye, of which you have written, on whom you've written a book. So everyone needs to try this for a start.
May I ask a question?
Yep.
Why do we know why she spells her name with 2 A's on the end? Do we know etymologically why that happens?
It's the Latin.
Oh, interesting.
In English, it's still Nicola, and in Lincoln now, a lot of the references to Nicholaa are with the normal spelling, but she spelt it Nichollaa. So did
Fair
I.
enough.
And Louise Wilkinson, the academic expert on Nicholaa, she spelt it. We were talking about it, and she said I'd spell it with the H and the A's. So I went, right, I'm sticking to that then.
Yeah.
So everybody else spells it. But that's the way Nicholaa spelt it. So that's the way I spelled it.
Good enough for me.
There you go. I've corrected the ticker tape. I'm so concentrated on the 2 A's, I forgot the H. It's back.
Guess who's back?
Back again. So where do you think we should begin, Sharon? Where should we start in our journey to understand Nicholaa a bit better, or at all, maybe?
I don't know. Where do you start with her? I suppose you start with what she achieved.
Lovely.
Which is defending Lincoln Castle against everybody.
Yeah.
And being undefeated, in a time when men were the only ones fighting wars and battles and defending castles. She defended Lincoln Castle against everybody who came at her and is totally undefeated,
I feel like she needs like a belt,
Well, she does. Lincoln Castle was taken in 1141 during the reign of King Stephen by ruse. The Earl of Chester and his brother William de Roumaire wanted to seize Lincoln Castle, so they actually took their wives to visit the Castellan's wife while the Castellan was away hunting. And they dropped their wives off to take tea with the Castellan's wife. It probably wasn't tea, really, was it? Afternoon tea rather than cup of tea in the 12th century. And then they called back later to pick their wives up with just a handful of men behind them, knocked on the gate. The skeleton defenders opened the gate because the Castellan's still out hunting with most of his men, and let the Earl of Chester and his brother in to collect their wives. The Earl of Chester then disarmed the gate guards, opened the gates wide and let the rest of his men in, and closed the gates so that when the Castellan got back from hunting, he couldn't get in his own castle. So right. that was 1141. So the castle had been seized before. Nicholaa, on the other hand, was not so stupid. And she kept hold of the castle. She first held it in 1191 when Richard I Justiciar decided he wanted it, William Longchamp. He came up to Lincoln with a host of mercenaries to seize the castle. Nicholaa's husband had gone to Nottingham at the time to chat with Prince John. And left Nicholaa in charge. And Longchamp probably thought, well, there's only a woman in charge. It's okay. She'll just hand it over to me. And of course, this was Nicholaa. This was her castle. And no, she bloody didn't. And for 40 days and 40 nights, it's always 40, isn't it? It's very biblical.
Very prophetic.
He battered against the walls and Nicholaa didn't let him in. And he ended up having to give up and go home.
Excellent. So take us back a little bit to like her origins, because I'm trying to remember now. It's been a while since I read your book, but you can trace her lineage back to the Warrens and even further back than that, can't you?
Well, she was her let me think. Her granddad, Robert de la Haye, was one of married actually the granddaughter of Colswine of Lincoln. So although her granddad was a Norman from La Haye du Puy in Normandy in the Cotentin, her grandmother was an Anglo-Saxon named Muriel. Was it Muriel? Yeah. So her grandmother was an Anglo-Saxon. So she's got English and Norman blood. And her grandfather held Lincoln Castle by right of his wife, and then her father inherited that right as well. They were kicked out for a time during the anarchy by King Stephen because they were supporters of Empress Matilda, which is brilliant. You know, I am definitely an Empress Matilda. As Philippa will tell you, I am definitely on Empress Matilda's side. We've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
I'm also fully on her side. Fully.
Stephen's a wuss is my usual argument. The De la Haye came over with William the Conqueror in 1066, but they actually married into an Anglo-Saxon family. So the holding Lincoln Castle. Lincoln was really strange after the conquest, where the Normans took over the administrations of most cities. The Lincoln Council, after the conquest, still had a high number of Anglo-Saxons on it. So they actually worked with the Normans, which I suppose most people would call them traitors as a result. But I think they just saw what was going to happen, and rather than losing power altogether, they decided to work with the Normans. So the Nicola's grandmother had a lot of influence in the area, and Robert de la Haye married her, got hold of Lincoln Castle, and from then, like I said, Nicola's father then held it, and then Nicholaa. She was one of 3 daughters. So, and in those days, if you had a son, the son inherited everything. If you had daughters, then everything was split equally between the surviving daughters if there were no sons. But the eldest daughter got the titles. So she was Baroness of Brattleby. Brattleby is a little village north of Lincoln. It's very cute. And she got Lincoln Castle. And then her sisters got the family's lands in Normandy. That was the deal eventually. She had 2 sisters. They got the family's lands in Normandy. She got the family's lands in England. And she married twice because, as you know, a woman can't hold a castle. She's not capable, not even capable of defending it 3 times against all comers and being undefeated. She can't do it. So she has to get married. And her first husband was William Fitzernest. He died after about 10 years of marriage. And then she married Gerard de Camville, who was a loyal supporter of Henry II, Richard I, King John, and all that kind of thing. So he was a loyal administrator for the crown. And he held Lincoln Castle by right of Nicholaa. But he seems to have known exactly what Nicholaa was capable of, because when he left Lincoln to do anything, he left Nicholaa in charge. He didn't put a deputy in charge. He left everything up to Nicholaa to do, and she made a fabulous job of it. He probably, in 1191, when William Longchamp besieged the castle, he probably thought, if I leave Nicholaa in charge, nobody's going to attack the castle because nobody's going to attack a woman. Longchamp's thinking, a woman's in charge, she's not going to defend the castle, so I'll attack it. It's like, you can't win, can you?
Yep, exactly.
So then, but unfortunately, then when Richard I came back from Crusade, he decided that Gerard and Nicholaa weren't loyal enough to hold Lincoln Castle, so he kicked them out because they'd been on John's side, basically. And Gerard, there was this accusation against Gerard, Nicola's husband, that he'd been supporting the outlaws of the area and sheltering them whilst they were attacking people on the road to Stamford Market, the traders. They were robbing the traders and then going and hiding in Lincoln Castle. When I first heard this, I'm there thinking, you may not know the location of Lincoln. It's right on the edge of Sherwood Forest.
Yeah.
So I hear this about outlaws and think, oh, Gerard's friends with Robin Hood. And then I think, actually, Gerard's on John's side, so maybe not.
Yeah.
But for a moment, I had this idea that Gerard and Nicholaa were playing host to Robin Hood every now and then while he's off robbing, when he's back from robbing traders.
I like that. I wish it was true.
Yes, so do I. But they certainly helped the outlaws, so maybe because they lost Lincoln Castle as a result. But then when John came back into power in 1199, one of the first things he did was reinstate Nicholaa and Gerard at Lincoln. And she was loyal to John for the whole of his reign.
Isn't interesting that, isn't it? Because we always sort of associate John with treating women really terribly, and obviously he did in many ways, but she did seem to be a woman, possibly the only woman, could we argue, that he had any real sort of respect for, and perhaps would be prepared to stand back and let her do her thing, sort of, if that makes sense. Or are there other examples of him valuing the input of women to the extent at which he rewarded her as well?
Yeah, I can't think of any other examples except his mother.
Okay.
And I think Nicholaa was about 10 years older than John. So I think it may be that she reminded him of his mother, with her being so strong and independent. So it's strong women. John did appreciate strong women who could hold their own.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that when a castle is besieged, obviously there is a munitions and physical defense that is required, but it also requires, and correct me if I'm wrong, the expert management of people, who may majoritively be men, telling them what they can eat and when.
Yeah.
And these are theoretically people who are physically stronger than she is, who will be getting hungry. 40 days and 40 nights is a long time. And hungry soldiers get fractious and make poor choices.
Yeah.
She's got to manage that.
Yeah. But I think she had, because of who her father was and her grandfather, the men in the castle would have been men who knew Nicholaa's heritage and had known Nicholaa. They'll have seen her grow up and have the reins of power passed to her from her dad. So they were locals, so they would have respected the De la Hayes, and known what they were capable of and what Nicholaa was capable of. So it's bred in, it was, forced into them in those days that they followed the noble and did as they were told. They owed allegiance to the De la Hayes. So, and in Nicholaa, she was there, so they gave her allegiance. And I think she would have been trained from a very early age. Yes, her husband was going to hold the castle, but she had to know what was going on, where everything was, how to do things, so that she could show her husband how to do it when the time came. So she was trained in, supply, a trained quartermaster, making sure that they had the food for the soldiers, food for guests, food for the horses, making sure that, she would have made sure the castle run smoothly when there wasn't war. And she would have been prepared to make sure the castle run smoothly when there was war. she wouldn't have been expected to hold a crossbow or a sword, but she would have been expected to make sure that she knew where everyone was supposed to be, and that she had the people who could hold crossbows, who could hold swords, and who could defend the castle.
I mean, also with the best one in the world, it takes about 3 hours to become proficient in a crossbow. So if she'd needed to, I'm fairly sure she could have picked it up. Yeah. We're not even at the phase of longbows yet, really. The Welsh are using longbows at this period, but they're not. We're using shorter bows in England, and they haven't got quite the same draw weight. Presumably, she would have been doing, if she'd gone out hunting, she would have been doing some archery.
Yes, she would have known how to use a bow and arrow, and especially around Lincoln, you know, with Sherwood Forest so close, and a lot of the hunting grounds there, it would have been what she was trained for. And she was her seal actually has her holding a hawk, so she probably hunted with hawks as well. But yeah, order just before the Magna Carta time, she ordered I think it was 8 different size crossbows to man the castle walls for the defense. So she knew what she was about with weapons and things. She would have had to.
Yeah.
You spoke about her second husband leaving her in charge of the castle. How did her first husband treat her? Do we know?
We don't really know. It wasn't a very long marriage. She had they did have a child, one child called Matilda. We know this was Nicola's child because in 1194, when Richard returned from his captivity, and Nicholaa paid Richard, you know, she was fined an awful lot for her rebellion. She paid to have Matilda's marriage, and it was Nicholaa who paid for Matilda's wardship. In those days, when a child's father died, the child became a ward of the king. With boys, the king made sure he sold that wardship on to somebody who'd pay them a lot of money. With Nicolaa's daughter, he sold the wardship on to Nicholaa so she could decide who her daughter married. And so we know it was her daughter, because if her daughter by her first husband, because if it was her daughter by her second husband, Gerard was still alive, so there'd be no need for wardship. And it's just little things like that you read about, and you're like thinking somebody had to work out whose daughter she was at some point. And so yeah, Nicholaa actually paid to make sure that she decided who her daughter married, rather than not even Gerard, her second husband, who was around by that point, and nobody else bought the wardship as well. Because if they buy the wardship, they control the lands, and it's actually Nicolaa's lands, not her husband's lands. So she was very protective of her own lands, was Nicholaa.
Well, I suppose she had to be, didn't she? Because, you know, there would probably been people eyeing them up all the time. So,
well, yeah, she had a feud later in life, bless her. William Longspay, the Earl of Salisbury, King John's half-brother, he married his eldest son, William Longspay, to Nicolaa's granddaughter, Idoneia. And he did this thinking he'd get hold of Nicolaa's lands and Gerard's lands, because Gerard died in 1215. So he was marrying his son to Gerard's granddaughter so that he could get hold of Gerard's lands, which he did. He expected to get hold of Nicola's lands as well. And he didn't, because Nicholaa was still alive and Nicholaa was holding on to her lands. And that's why he kept trying to get hold of Lincoln Castle. And he did all sorts to try and get hold of Lincoln Castle. He besieged it. Henry III's Regency Council sent Fulk de Breauté and his crossbowmen, 100 crossbowmen, to Lincoln Castle to help Nicholaa defend it. He offered hostages. He tried to bribe Nicholaa to give him this castle, and she just wouldn't give him Lincoln Castle. Even though she was in her 70s by this point, he wasn't having it. And he died, I think it was in 1226. And 3 months after he died, she retired.
Ah.
My work is done.
It's pure stubbornness. You will die before I step down.
Yeah.
Even if I have to 159. Love it. Love it.
So he wasn't having it.
She's got to have been aware of all of the kind of the nonsense with Henry II's sons buggering about. She's got so she's living through that uncertainty, and then Richard comes to the throne, and it's just spend all of England's money, crusade, crusade, crusade. So it's, I suppose, what when it comes to kind of how she would have viewed her nation, and bearing in mind, of course, you said her sisters have got the lands in France.
Mm-hmm.
How would she have viewed her, I suppose, her place in the world and her country? What do you think about what she would have thought about it?
Well, I think the thing is, I think it's very telling that Gerard, when Richard the Lionheart went on crusade, he left a chap named William Longchamp, who was Bishop of Ely, I think it was at the time, in charge as Justicia. Now, not many people liked William Longchamp. And he actually, the reason he besieged Lincoln Castle was he ordered Gerard to relinquish Lincoln Castle to him so he could give it to one of his friends. And Gerard was like, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not relinquishing Lincoln Castle. So he went, John was at Nottingham at the time. So he went to John and swore allegiance to John so that he'd get John's protection. And, you know, we've all got this idea that John is a bad guy. In 1191, John was on the side of right. You know, Longchamp was being very heavy-handed. And it got so out of control that Richard I had to actually send one of his bishops back from the crusade to deal with it, to sort it out, to put Longchamp in his place, but also to make sure John stayed in his place as well. So although John was in the right, it was like, yeah, okay, we've got rid of Longchamp now, but you're still not getting control of the country, John. You're still the baby brother, and Richard still doesn't trust you, but, you know, we'll let you have a say, but you're not looking after this country. And of course, then John goes off and sides with Philip II and tries to persuade the German emperor to keep Richard in prison a little longer rather than releasing him and things like that. So I suppose they were right not to trust John in the long run.
I mean, with the family that he came from, where his brothers and his mother willingly rebelled against his father, why are they shocked?
Yeah, what do you expect?
Do the same thing to them. This is the family trade.
Yeah,
I do think when you look at the fact that John was the one who had Magna Carta forced on him, and it was John who had to face down the barons in the First Barons' War, and it was against John that Prince Louis invaded England. I still blame Henry II and Richard the Lionheart for a lot of it, because I think it wasn't just John; it was a culmination of everything that happened before. Magna Carta was going to happen no matter what. It would happen under one ruler or another, because the excesses that had been going on for decades needed to be curbed. You know, Richard, as they said, Richard would have sold London to the highest bidder if he could.
Yeah.
That's one of those abuses of power that is curtailed by Magna Carta. So
yeah. I mean, it's that thing, isn't it? Henry, through his marriage to Eleanor, he is in charge of England, obviously, but he's also in charge of more of France than the French king. So in the space of his two sons' reigns, we lose everything except for like a sliver by Calais, and that can't.
No, we lost Calais. We lost Calais as well. The Calais that Mary Tudor lost was the Calais that was won in the 100 Years' War.
Oh.
We lost Calais. We lost Calais when we lost Normandy. We kept John lost everything except it was Gascony. He managed to keep hold of.
Gascony.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it can't have got so bad in John's reign that it's all his fault. There must have been issues, seeded the ground to get it to a position where you go from having so much to having virtually nothing.
Well, look at Richard the Lionheart. He got back from the Crusade finally in 1194, and he spent the next 5 years fighting in France to hold on to the French possessions.
Yeah.
The problem was Philip of France. Philip II of France was a bloody good soldier, and he was determined to unite France, to unite his kingdom. So in order to do that, he had to kick the English kings out.
Yeah, makes sense.
And he had all the power there, he had all the resources, whereas the English had to bring the resources over over the English Channel. And there was divided loyalties among the Anglo-Normans because they wanted to keep their Norman lands, but they didn't necessarily want to have to do the fighting for it because fighting costs money. And they only gave the king 40 days of military service a year. And they didn't want to have to do that wherever the king said he wanted them to do it. They weren't, a lot of them refused to go and fight in France.
Yeah.
Poor John was just stuck between a rock and a hard place. And it was because for all the years before that, with Henry II and Richard the Lionheart, having English barons fighting on French soil and protecting lands that weren't theirs or that they'd lost already, and trying to claim back something, this Angevin Empire that was more a dream now than a reality.
I mean, I suppose Magna Carta is however many clauses,
63.
63. I suppose.
Book,
and there's obviously some that are quite specific.
It's in the back of the book. Hold on.
I was trying to remember. I used to
63.
There you go. I was going to say 62. I'm quite proud of myself. And I suppose some of the clauses are clearly aimed at John, or they seem to be aimed at John. So, but I've never thought of it as something that was probably going to happen anyway. I do think Richard. I think Richard the Lionheart's reputation is elevated because John's is so bad. It's almost like in reflection then because he's not John, he must have been good because John's bad. You see what I mean?
But now I'm going to blame some people here, and if anyone's listened to my podcast A Slice of Medieval, they know exactly what's coming. It's the bloody Victorians.
Fair. It's always
fair. Yeah,
we do have this discussion.
Richard the Lionheart is the epitome of the British Empire. He's a soldier. He's exactly what the British Empire under the Victorians was meant to be. John is not so militaristic. He's not a great soldier. He does manage a couple of soldiering feats that are brilliant, like the race to Mirabeau to save his mum. But he's not a consistently great soldier, whereas Richard the Lionheart is. And if you've got a good guy, you've got to have a bad guy. So as far as the Victorians were concerned, Richard was brilliant, which meant John had to be the bad guy. But they didn't look at it in a whole as a lot of you look at the clauses. Yes, a lot of them appear to be John, but they're actually against the king and against the crown. And a lot of the things that the clauses are aimed at are things that had been going on for decades.
So do you think this is what Nicholaa saw and her husband saw in John? It's not. I mean, they're there at the time, so they're seeing it in real time, but they're seeing him more for.
Yeah,
I don't know, in the context of what the others were up to beforehand.
Yeah, and also John had supported them and given them Lincoln Castle back as soon as he got on the throne. So he'd been loyal to them, so they were loyal to him. And to be honest, a lot of the baronial revolt was very self-centered. It wasn't this great And Magna Carta wasn't this great thing for the people. It was the barons' list of grievances.
Yeah.
Well, it's called the Article of the Barons, wasn't it? I mean, as they put together, it was the Article of the Barons. It was nothing to do with, I'm worried about my tenants and
the elevation of the kind of Magna Carta to being this notion of a document that's about equality and human rights really speaks to who the people who are elevating it to that level saw as humans.
Yes.
Yes.
And the way it's been used throughout history,
misused frequently.
Well, it's I suppose it's the essence or the spirit or whatever that they were trying to use it to say, even though really the original essence and spirit of it wasn't what people have argued it was, in order to bolster their own arguments when they need it. It's quite interesting, the monument at Runnymede with the chairs. There's like 10 chairs, is it out? And each one of them represents how Magna Carta has been used throughout history.
I haven't seen that. That's cool.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
I mean, there is the two clauses in Magna Carta, the 39 and 40. Yes, you cannot deny they are the fundamental basis of our legal system. They mean no imprisonment without trial, and the guarantee of trial by peers before punishment rather than after. And yes, those two were aimed at King John and what he did to Matilda de Breos and her son.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, it's like the other two that are still in place is one guaranteeing the liberties to the City of London and the liberties of the church.
I think the church came first as well, didn't it? Which, as usual, doesn't the church come first as well? It's like, get that one sorted.
It shows the self-interest that's involved. Everybody's stood there going, right, we want this, we want this, we want, everybody's putting their 2 pence in to say, we want this. And I've got this image of John going there, oh, bloody hell, will you just shut up?
Yeah. I think
all of you.
I think the London thing is interesting because, broadly speaking, the liberty of the London thing, the baronial interest there is just not pissing off the money, like the freeman. I think it's really interesting that one of the first things that William the Conqueror does, 1067, is he issues the Charter of London, where he recognises that there's special an individual right. The City of London has always had special and specific rights and privileges, and I think it's interesting that even when the barons are looking to divide things up for their own gain, they recognise the value of not fucking off the City of London.
Well, even Empress Matilda is the same, isn't she? 1141, she's waiting to be crowned. She won't guarantee the City of London its privileges, and so they kick her out.
Yeah. Shows how important they are.
So, and how sorry, London, but how up themselves they were.
Well, we are what we are down here. The square mile.
Isn't your class? You Londoners are always the same.
Absolutely.
My impression of
I'm not from the southeast. I'm not from London. Throwing that out there.
And I'm from the north, apparently. Although I don't think that's
north
true.
of Watford.
North of Watford.
North of Watford is north. Yeah.
So my impression of the Magna Carta, the shuttle diplomacy that went on, is that, and this was just around the anniversary. I went to so many lectures, and I got really, really interested in it. And my impression was he sort of got to a point where he went, oh, just fine, seal that one. I'm not going to abide by it anyway. Which of course he goes straight to the Pope and says, please tell everyone that this is, invalid.
Well, it's this whole thing of you're forcing me into it. So all you have to do then is go to the Pope. They forced me to seal this, and it's not fair. And the Pope went, you're right. And excommunicated everyone who forced him to sign it. And the whole idea was that, there's also is it 25 Barons Council that was supposedly set up.
Yeah, which was never actually set up. Yeah.
It never actually happened, but they were going to set up this council of barons to oversee what the king was doing. And it's funny that 50 years later, Simon de Montfort tries to do the same thing with Henry III. And you look at it's, it just shows that it wasn't a one-off thing against John. This was actually a step in establishing British parliamentary government that we've got now. It was just one of those steps along the way to us getting proper parliamentary government. But it wasn't, it was John and that was it. It was done against Henry III as well. And Edward I, you look at how many times Magna Carta was reissued in the 13th century.
Yeah.
You had 1215, 1216, 1217, 1225. I think Simon de Montfort did it as well in the 1260s. And the one that is on the statute books is the 1225 one. But Edward I did one in the 1290s as well. So, it was seen as a way of bringing the barons to the table. But it wasn't 1215 and it's a done thing. It was a process. And I mean, even after the 13th century, it was actually forgotten about for a long time until the civil wars of the 17th century, when it was like, oh, we need to bring Magna Carta back. And they had the Bill of Rights, and that was based on the Magna Carta.
It's fascinating. So where was Nicholaa at this point during the Magna Carta?
She was in Lincoln. Yeah, she was in Lincoln.
I am staying here.
I can't be doing all this man nonsense.
Yeah, she was basically holding Lincoln, because straight after the issuing of Magna Carta, of course, like you say, John wrote to the Pope and had it annulled. And even before the Pope message came back from the Pope that yes, it's annulled, everybody's excommunicated, England was in the midst of civil war. John was besieging Rochester. Nicholaa was holding on to Lincoln. The Scots were coming down from the north as well. So William the Lion was coming down to support the rebels.
Brilliant name.
Well, as far as the Scots are concerned, an unstable England was beneficial to them. So if they can cause trouble, it means that England's not looking north. If England's having troubles of its own, it's not looking north. So best to come along and stir the pot. And of course, John actually had well, it wasn't William the Lion by that point, was it? It was Alexander II. Two of his sisters were in John's custody. He'd promised to marry them to one of his sons, and an English noble, and he'd never got round to it. And one of the clauses in Magna Carta, clause 59, I think it is for the return of the Scottish hostages, and for John to find husbands for the Scottish princesses or send them home. So the Scots had an interest in bringing John to heel. And they all laid siege to Lincoln Castle in 1216. Nicholaa paid for them to go away. And they did pull off the siege for a little while. And then John marches north and chases after them with fire and sword into the Isle of Axholme, which is about 10 minutes down the road from me. And the English rebels had crossed the River Trent and gone into the Isle of Axholme, which is basically marshland. The Scottish had marched up the east coast of the Trent towards the Humber and gone home. Because as soon as John came north, it's like, oh, this isn't worth it. Come on, let's book her off.
They've noticed we're here.
Yeah.
Arthur. So is that what he was doing when he died then? Is that why he was coming up? Is that because he dies not long after that, doesn't he?
He dies not long after that.
Is that why he was in the area?
He was in the north, in Lincolnshire, chasing off the rebels. He was in Lincoln in September, and then he was heading south again over the Wash, where he lost his jewels. the crown jewels nor his other jewels. If Catherine Gay the gutter.
Never.
When he fell ill and he ended up at Swineshead Abbey, where supposedly he was poisoned by the monks. Some suggested. I don't think he was. I honestly don't think it was peaches either, to be honest. It was supposed to be that he got dysentery from eating rotten peaches. And it's like they didn't have peaches aren't around in September. And this is,
you know if a fruit's rotten. It's I always think that's a bizarre thing when say people got ill out of eating rotten food. You're like, why would they have eaten rotten food?
Yeah,
exactly.
He's moving around a lot. He's in camp in various places.
He's in a camp. He lives. Yeah. He's the most itinerant king you've ever come across. He doesn't spend more than 1 or 2 days in one place before he's moving off. And he is a perpetual mover. And not just this Tudor idea of the home counties. He was everywhere. Yeah.
He's stressed, he's besieged, his throne is under threat, he's encamped in a military style. It's a miracle he didn't get dysentery sooner. They all fucking die of dysentery. They all shit to death.
Look at Henry V. It's like soldiers got dysentery. It happened, and once it started in a camp, it spread like wildfire.
Yes.
And that's what happened with John.
Dysentery and sepsis, that's what they die of. If you go to war a lot, you either die of sepsis or you die of dysentery. That is the tradition.
Yeah.
Tradition.
I don't know where the story of the peaches comes from, because it's like it was
Victorian. Let's blame the Victorians.
Yeah, let's blame the Victorians. It's always the bloody Victorians.
They like to do it because obviously peaches are very sweet, and also, as you say, the notion that they're rotten, the notion that John is just so greedy that he couldn't even possibly control himself. It's the stories we tell. It's like George Duke of Clarence being drowned in Malmsey wine. This is a feckless, idle wastrel who couldn't keep himself together. The notion of Edward II being sodomized to death with the red hot poker. This is a comment on how they want people to see these people after their deaths more than anything that actually happened at the time.
Yeah, and these are the stories that just get repeated ad infinitum without actually somebody going, actually,
where did it come from?
Really?
Yeah.
Where did it come from? Yeah.
Exactly. It's like this idea. One of my big pet hates is Henry VIII was destined for the church because he was educated. He must have been destined for the church, because that's what they did with younger sons. The oldest son became king, the youngest son joined the church, and the same story is said of King John. And it's like, because that's what happened with younger sons. No younger prince in England ever joined the church. Go all the way back to William the Conqueror. No prince joined the church. Illegitimate sons of kings did, but no actual prince of England joined the church. So why would John or Henry VIII be destined for the church?
No,
it wasn't something they did.
Where did that come from then? That mistake?
I don't know. It did happen in France. It happened in France, where younger sons, Louis VII was destined for the church, actually, until his older brother died, and then he had to marry Eleanor of Aquitaine, and he really should have gone in the church. And they did. I mean, there are a number of younger sons in French history who had to leave the church to take up jobs counties, jobs as counts and kings and things, but not in England. It wasn't something that happened in England. But you've got this, Henry VIII, well, he was educated, wasn't he? He was destined for the church, rather than he was a Renaissance prince. Of course he was bloody educated.
Before we move on, let me just say a big thank you to Teresa, because she's
thank you.
$10 our way. If anyone else wants to join in, feel free. Thank you, Teresa.
Teresa will get raptured now. Look, you see.
She's done a last charitable thing on her.
Before she heard what you said, Philippa. She's like, oh shit.
I suppose also with the whole Henry becoming a member of the church thing, it also ties into he is clearly interested by theological issues. He's very interested by it. I don't know. I mean, I agree. I don't think he's being funneled into the church, but I think if Arthur hadn't have died, it may have been where he potentially ended up. And also you can get clerical stipends without taking holy orders, so you can earn some lovely money from the church. But of course, lots of kings' daughters end up in convent. One of Edward I's daughters is an inveterate fucking gambler and a nun.
Yeah, and possible and accused of having a relationship, an adulterous relationship with John de Warenne, the 7th and last Earl of Surrey, who claimed that he'd had sex with her when he was trying to divorce her niece.
And wasn't she supposed to be a closed order, but she keeps like mincing off to London?
Yeah, she was. I don't think
she's certainly out and about.
I don't think it was a closed order, but yeah, she was put in the bloody monastery when she was 7 years old, poor girl. She obviously didn't have a calling.
Okay. Yeah, she didn't.
It was more that Eleanor of Provence, her grandmother, was going to retire to the priory, and she wanted company. So she had 2 of her granddaughters join the monastery. One was Mary of Woodstock, and the other one was Eleanor of Brittany. And now Eleanor of Brittany did have a calling, and she eventually became Abbess of Fontevraud. But Mary of Woodstock, all she was ever put in charge of was the aristocratic novices, to teach them how to behave, which she is certainly the wrong person to teach aristocratic novices how to behave.
She's even worse than Agnes Howard, isn't it? Like, as a role model. Not everyone can be good at their job.
Well, back in the before times, we used to do at the Tower. In winter, there was a thing called the Medieval Palace, and we'd be in Edward I's bedchamber interpreting the before of us. And one of my colleagues, whenever she was on, she would play Mary of Woodstock, and it was delicious fun because she'd say something. And or one of us would say something and she'd respond, and somebody would be very close to corpsing because it was borderline smutty, and she'd take herself off into the chapel in the bedchamber to have a little giggle and then come back out again. She's such a fun character to play.
And to be honest, I think although she didn't have a vocation, I think Mary of Woodstock actually had a good life because she had the best of both worlds. You know, she wasn't married off to some foreign prince. She wasn't a baby making machine. Yes, she was a nun, but that didn't stop her. She was a princess nun, so she got to go wherever she wanted and do. She spent months at a time with her family every year. She was, she wasn't secluded or kept out of the way, and she had a grand old time, and her dad paid off her debts, then her brother paid off her debts.
Yep. I think people grossly underestimate how good your life could be. I mean, if you got to the rank of abbess and you had a royal background, I mean, if you're abbess full stop, but if you were an abbess with a royal background, your life, your autonomy, but also your influence, there's going to be scarce matches to that.
Yeah.
That is a power move.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, and this is what I do say about coming back to Nicholaa de la Haye, who I think is who we're supposed to be talking about. Nicholaa was widowed in 1215, and she then went to the court when she was widowed a second time and had her self-declared femme sole, which meant that she was in command of all her property and herself, and she paid so that she wouldn't have to be married again. I mean, she was in her 60s by this point, so the last thing she wanted to do was, train a new husband. She'd already done that twice. You're not going to do it a third time, are you? No. It's like enough's enough.
Yeah. She's earned her craft. She's earned her living at that point.
She's earned it, because the thing is, girls were subject to the rule of their father. Young women were subject to the rule of their husband. The most independence a woman could have was to be a widow. That was the one time she was in charge of her life, her lands, and her own money. So Nicholaa took advantage of this and had herself declared femme sole, so that she was in charge of her money. She kept hold of Lincoln Castle, And there's this brilliant story that was told at the end of the 13th century when Edward I did the 100 Rolls investigation. And his investigator spoke to the people of Lincoln, who told them this story of sometime in 1216, either in February or September, when John visited Lincoln, Nicholaa met him at the gates of Lincoln Castle with the keys to the castle and handed them to him, saying that she was too old and weary to carry on holding Lincoln Castle. And John gave her the keys back and said, Nicholaa, I would that you hold the castle as before until I say otherwise. Basically, you're the one in charge. You're keeping the castle. And I always thought that this was Nicholaa, trying to resign. And I think this was all play acting. This was Nicholaa and John had planned this out as a way to demonstrate John's continued support of Nicholaa as being Castellan of Lincoln Castle. I also think he did it. It was probably in February, because I think he did it in front of his half-brother, William Longchamp, who just married his son to Nicholaa's granddaughter and was thinking that he'd get hold of Lincoln Castle.
Mm.
So John and Nicholaa have got this act together and said, let's do this play out. I'll give you the keys back. You can give them back to me and show Longchamp that you are confident in me holding Lincoln Castle. And I think it was a big snub to Longchamp as to say, this is Nicholaa's castle. Nicholaa's keeping it. She has done nothing to justify removing her from it. She's held this castle and we know she can hold this castle. So there's no need for it to go to Longchamp. And of course, shortly after that, Longchamp goes and joins Prince Louis.
Right.
So
He's not.
I think
There we are.
Is Nicholaa the one who
Longchamp, Longspay, not Longchamp, Longspay. I've got my longs wrong.
Happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of us.
Nicholaa's the one who John made sheriff. Is that right?
Yep.
And what does that role entail? What does that mean?
It was one of John's last acts. He was actually on his deathbed on the 18th of October, and he appointed Nicholaa de la Haye as Sheriff of Lincolnshire, with Philip Mark, the Sheriff of Nottinghamshire, as her deputy, which is great. The dastardly Sheriff of Nottingham was Nicholaa's deputy. So, but yeah, it was. The sheriff collected fines, kept hostages for, anyone who, to keep. She had a couple of hostages who were the sons of some of the rebel barons, and the rebels had promised to behave, because if they didn't, their sons would get killed, sort of thing. She collected fines and taxes, and there's plenty of instances record before she was made sheriff, actually, and afterwards, of the king asking her to send the money that she'd collected from the fines and from the taxes in the area and from trade tariffs to the crown, because John was always in need of money and he knew exactly where every bit of money was. So there's all these is in the close rolls and the patent rolls, there's all these writs to Nicholaa and to the other sheriffs saying, send such and such to this place for the king. You haven't sent this money yet, send it now, and things like that.
Had she been effectively sheriff before that, but without the title then? She was doing a lot of the same job.
It looks like, yeah, possibly. I mean, it was a very confusing time. Gerard had been sheriff for about 6 years in the early 1200s. So it looks like that she'd been holding. The thing is, because she held Lincoln Castle, even when she wasn't officially sheriff, she was the monies collected by the sheriffs were held in Lincoln Castle. So she had actually control of those funds even before she was made sheriff. It's just once she was made sheriff, she could do a bit, had a little more control over it.
Right. Fascinating.
It is
She's When was the last time that she? So how old was she? I'm trying to work out when she last when the last time she had to defend the castle would have been.
The last full defence is the Battle of Lincoln in 1217, 20th of May 1217. She had basically, after John died in October 1216, the rebels who'd been chased away with fire and sword the year before came back to Lincoln almost straight away. It's like, the king's dead, come on, let's go get Lincoln, lads, and started besieging the castle again. So that was October 1216 until May 1217. Nicholaa was under some form of siege. And in the meantime, John's died. Henry III is 9 years old. William Marshal is appointed regent. And Marshall's first job is to get Henry crowned. So he has to leave Lincoln for now in the hands of Nicholaa and hope she can hold out long enough for him to get to her. He gets Henry crowned at
Gloucester.
I always get Gloucester and Worcester mixed up. I have to remember who's buried where.
Yeah.
John's buried at Worcester, so Henry was crowned at Gloucester.
That's it.
So he gets Henry crowned at Gloucester. And then in the new year, he orders a muster. In March, he orders a muster for May the 17th at Newark. And the army comes together at Newark. There had been a truce over Christmas where Prince Louis had gone back to France to gather reinforcements, and he came back in, I think it was April 1217, with more men to fight and try and get the English throne. But by this point, John had died. Henry III was just a boy, and a lot of people were beginning to get fed up with Louis, because Louis decided that he wasn't going to give the lands he won to his English allies. He was going to give them to his French friends, which upset a few of the English allies.
Yeah, that
so,
work.
So a lot of them started coming back to William, and Longspay who had left John in June 1216, I think it was. He turned his coat and gone to Louis. He now decided, came slinking back to Marshall and said, I'm on your side now. Just in time to help fight the Battle of Lincoln. Of course, he wanted to fight the Battle of Lincoln because guess what he wants? He wants Lincoln. So he helps Marshall fight. Joins the muster to march on Lincoln on 17th of May 1217. They meet at Newark and they march on Lincoln, and they get to the north of Lincoln. They actually go straight past Lincoln, so that it's sensible. Marshall's in his 70s now. If you know Lincoln at all, on the north side, it's not flat, but it's not a mega hill. On the south side, there's this hill called Steep Hill.
Hill, yeah.
Hill.
If you're in your 70s, the last thing you want to do is climb that hill.
Yeah.
So they made straight past
Sharon, I parked at the wrong end of it. She was like, why did you park down? I don't know. That's I parked in the car park it told me to go to. I paid 10 quid for parking it, so I wasn't going to come out and drive up the hill. She's like, you've been ages. Like, yes,
oh dear. Yeah, it took her 10 minutes to get her breath back, you know.
It's a very steep hill.
Tell all the locals, because they're just driving up it, you know. Yeah. People who are just dying by the roadside.
Yeah. Next time, let me know, and I'll show you where to park at the top.
Yeah. I'm not doing that again. Oh God.
So they march to Lincoln, and they have this big battle on the 20th of May, where Marshall is so eager to get into the battle that he has to be reminded to put his helmet on. This 70-year-old giddy boy, desperate for battle. Me and Dan Jones have a disagreement on this, because Dan thinks he's so suffering from dementia and forgetting to put his helmet on. But I'm like, no, he's eager to get into battle. You know, this is William Marshall.
War boner.
We had a war boner.
War boner. We've got war boner t-shirts.
We do. They're very good. You should buy one. Everyone buy one.
Yeah. Marshall, massive war boner.
He is brilliant. And I've always said, and if Marshall had been in his 30s or 40s and Nicholaa had been in her 20s or 30s, there'd be tons of films about this. You know, Marshall riding into battle to rescue Nicholaa. It would be, what was it? Dishonourable not to help so brave a lady. And but no, she's in her 60s, he's in his 70s, so it's like, yeah, geriatrics, we're not going to bother doing a film about them, are we?
But,
Wow.
Imagine, let me set the scene. Patrick Stewart as the Marshal.
Ooh.
Right? And
Really was like, oh.
Mirren.
I was going to say Helen Mirren,
as Nicholaa.
She's definitely my idea of Nicholaa, Helen Mirren.
That would be erotic.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it now. Not only would it be phenomenal acting, it would be erotic, those two.
It would be a little
I don't care how old they are. They are fit, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just made Cat's List.
Look, that and cartoon Robin Hood.
Oh no, yes. Box sandwich were two of the most traumatic words I've ever heard in a sentence. Sharon, don't ask.
I'm not going to. So yeah, I mean, this big battle is also called the Lincoln Fair because the troops went a bit wild afterwards and went rampaging through the city and stealing gold plate from the cathedral and everything. But then the city had sided with the rebels, so they were fair game.
They deserved it. They did everything they got at that point.
But so Nicholaa had held on to this castle from October to May when the relief army arrived. 4 days afterwards, she is relieved of her position as sheriff, and it's given to William Longspay, the Git, and he then seizes the castle.
Oh,
from Nicholaa. And it's like, you get it. So what does she do? She marches to the council, reminds them of her service, and gets her castle back.
As she should. As she should.
Good girl.
Yeah, exactly.
And he needs to be kicked directly in the penis.
I was literally thinking about this.
I do not like William Longspay. He's a kid, Longspay.
Yeah.
He's just like...
asking to be kicked in the dick, that man.
Yeah. So then, like I said, and every time for the 9 years after that, all he does is try and get the castle off her in various ways.
Oh, like an annoying fly just buzzing around their head.
Go away! Leave her be!
How many times do you have to fail at the same thing?
Yeah. You're not getting it.
You're embarrassing yourself now.
7 shades mediocre, please, sir. Just stop. Right.
I imagine she does some dance on the walls every so often. Yeah.
Who now has an image of Helen Mirren doing that?
Yes.
I'd also love that. I'd also love it.
I love that too.
She's been in Mobland. She played a gangster grandma recently, so she's up for it. All right, she's up for it. I'll talk on her behalf. She would be very good.
If you didn't know, Philippa is now acting as Helen Mirren's agent. She doesn't know this, but it is. It is in fact happening. We're putting together the deal. It's going to be her and Patrick Stewart, and we're taking over Lincoln Castle. Just you ding-a-ling-a-ling. It's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
I'll put it in my diary.
I want to know, because we've kept you for entirely too long with our nonsense. Okay. But I would like to know, as one of our trailblazers, if Nicholaa could impart some advice or knowledge, what would be the main Nicholaa de la Haye life lesson? What do you reckon she'd tell us?
Stand your ground.
Fair. Yeah. Chat shit,
and a woman can do it.
Chat shit, get banged. I've not heard that for years.
Which is a Jamie Vardy quote, by the way. Chat shit, get banged.
Well, I mean, is that what? Do you have that put on your headstone, Kat?
I think we should make some Nicholaa de la Haye merch. Just Nicholaa de la Haye, stand your ground, chat shit, get banged.
I get the artist still owes us the other design.
Well, banged has the second meaning though.
Hey,
it does in the Midlands. If you're getting banged, it's not a bad thing.
No. Well, it depends who's doing it.
Well, true. Yeah.
If it's William Longspade, not so good.
No,
exactly.
No. If it was William Marshall.
If it's William Marshall.
Anytime.
Oh, everyone's history crush.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, he's one of mine, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. Every time I talk about him, I introduce him as William Marshall, the greatest knight.
Yeah, well, yes. At the time he got that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he get that
Yeah.
We've always said, we've said so many times, he needs a film. We've been saying this for yonks, haven't we?
Yeah, not as a bit part. He needs a film of his own, but we've already sorted it out. It's going to be him and Mirren.
Yeah,
it is. Look, we've done the hard work for these people. Where are they? Like, for the love of Christ, people. And also, what's that series film, the one that came out recently that everyone says is not very
King
good?
and Conqueror.
King and Conqueror.
Yeah,
don't get me started.
Where every bugger's got a dirty neck.
Yeah,
no one's washed their bloody neck.
Tasha's
Harold gets out of the bath and he's still mucky. How does that work? And he goes to his coronation and he's got dirt on his face. It's like, your mum's there. Didn't she tell you to bloody go wash your face before you go
tide mark out?
I had a rant about this when all I had seen was the image on the throne.
Yeah.
Why is he in a crown with a dirty
face?
Why is his face dirty?
Oh dear.
Yeah, I haven't watched it because the outrage has been so great. But I was like,
I am quite proud of myself. I have watched all 8 episodes. I managed it. And by the end, by episode 8, I actually sort of almost started enjoying it because I suddenly realised I couldn't care less anymore because it's so ski whiffing out of the
and it was nearly over by that point.
And it was nearly over by that point, yeah. Until
what's the history like? Is the history? I haven't seen any of it. I've seen. Is there
is there any?
There's your answer.
Okay. Have you seen Rain?
Yes, I've seen some. I had to stop watching that as well.
In terms of like historical accuracy and connection to what happened, because obviously when I talk about Rain, I say there's a character called Mary I and a character called Francis, and they're the connection to history begins and ends.
Yes.
When it comes to King and Conqueror, does it live on a similar, or is there more history involved? Like, where are we?
I mean, they do fight the Battle of Hastings. They do fight the Battle of Stamford Bridge. They're in 1043. William the Conqueror, who's not yet Conqueror, but William, he's at Edward the Confessor's coronation with his wife Matilda, who would have been 11 in 1043 and hadn't actually met him for another 7 years. And then a couple of months later, Matilda's got a son, Robert, who's, yes, they did have a son called Robert, who was their eldest son. So he's born in the programme in about 1044. And in 1066, you see him again, and he's 3.
Well,
I know.
And it's the same with Harold's kids. They're told that they're born at the beginning of the show in 1043, and they're still toddlers by 1066. It's like, bloody hell,
they're actually still walking amongst us. They just age incredibly slowly.
Nobody's supposed to work out the timing.
Time machines. That is time machines.
Yeah, it's like, good Lord.
That's insane.
The kids haven't grown up.
Amazing.
Oh, and they make Tostig out into a sympathetic character, and yet Tostig was a real shit. So
he was.
I mean, in fairness, so was William the Conqueror. None of these good people.
Harold's the bad guy in it, which I really don't like.
Yeah, he's
I don't think Harold was perfect, but there was good and bad on both sides. But they've made Harold into the bad guy, and they've made Tostig into this lovable lad who's betrayed by his brother, and it's like,
no, definitely the opposite
Tostig
way
was
around.
the one doing the betraying.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, Tostig's a shitbag.
Yeah.
William is a war criminal.
Yeah.
Like, he's a demon who just loves a bit of arson.
Yeah.
Norman
conflict resolution kit.
There we are. Bit of arson.
Yeah.
In doubt, set fire to it.
Yeah.
And Harold was he was well regarded, he was successful, he was the choice of everyone else, and
he was accepted in the way that kings of that age were accepted in every way, means and tradition of the nation of the time. He was the rightful, anointed, recognized monarch who was usurped by a bastard.
Yeah.
But they have him sending
by a French one as well.
They have him sending an assassin after his brother Swain, and ordering his brother's death. Now Swain was a real git. He kidnapped a nun, raped her, trying to marry her, and only let her go back to the monastery when the Pope turned around and said, "No, you can't marry her," after she'd had a son with him. He murdered his cousin, his mum's nephew. He accused his mum of having an affair with Canute and claimed to be the son of Canute instead of Godwin. So he was another real shit. And he had to go, he died on his return journey from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem to atone for all his sins. But in the program, Harold sent an assassin after him.
Oh,
that's
really?
The best ending, to be fair.
It's like, what got me was Swain's story is so horrendous. It's a TV program in itself. They really didn't have to change his story. They could have, they had him doing the droit de seigneur thing at the beginning, having the right to bed the bride. And it's like, no, he raped a nun. That's not bedding a bride. That's raping a nun,
Yeah.
So Leona said she was going to watch it then. Decided to wait for the HAD rating of it. Well, by the sounds of it, Leona, the HAD rating is just don't.
I mean, I haven't seen it. So,
no,
but I have got concerns because, as with all things, I am a firm fan of historical fiction, even the ones that have a very limited connection. Because if it can get one person interested in the period in a way that they then go away and research it, fabulous. However, I also know that the payoff to that is that a bunch of people will watch it and will not be inspired to go and do the research, but they will take it on as verbatim. Because the amount of times in my life that I have been asked in the Globe, and where did Queen Elizabeth sit when she came? And I've had to go, she sat at Greenwich or Hampton Court, because they came to her. Yeah. And I don't care. Dame Judy, love Dame Judy. But that, unfortunately, Shakespeare in Love is not a piece of verbatim theatre. I hate to tell you. And it didn't come visit the Globe.
I have to say, the one thing about King and Conqueror that I think was brilliant is they included the women at the center of it. The women were involved in the decision making. They were pushing the men in the program. They were part of the councils of war and things, Matilda of Flanders, Judith of Flanders, Emma of Normandy, although her being kicked to death by her son wasn't actual fact, but she was at least there. And they put the women at the center of it alongside the men. And I looked at it, I thought, I wonder if the writer read my book and then threw it away. You know, 'cause I wrote Silk and the Sword, the women of the Norman Conquest. And I'm like, I put the women in the centre of the story. And I thought, he's done that, but then he's just thrown away the actual facts of the story. But at least the women were there, because I was really wound up by Outlaw King, which told the story of Robert the Bruce, but Robert the Bruce's story has got 5 really strong women at the heart of it, and they didn't include them. You know, they included his wife and his daughter, but then left everything else out. So it was like, at least with this, they included the women.
Yeah, because missing them out plays into the perception that women didn't have a role.
Yeah, exactly, and they were there.
They're signing charters. They're, you know, the mothers of sons, and you know, they're there.
They're managing estates and households and inheritances, and they are regents and all of the rest of it. And they have been raised and bred to do it.
Yes,
and like you
that's
said earlier,
they were raised to be a part of society, to help guide their husbands, to know about their lands. I mean, the thing with Stephen and Matilda of Boulogne, all their charters when he was Count of Boulogne were jointly issued, because Boulogne was Matilda's, not Stephen's. And with William of Normandy and Matilda of Flanders, you know, she was left in charge of Normandy when he invaded England. She was trusted to rule.
But it's another one of those perceptions, though, where you were saying earlier, like the men did follow Nicholaa de Haye, because actually that was what was expected. She was their commander in that way. It is interesting, because I think probably historical fiction does play into that a lot. Or the women aren't there, or the women are just there going, please don't kill him, or whatever. I mean, I don't know if you've met any women, the historical like drama writers out there, but women are pretty feisty and are not like that scared of saying who to kill.
I think it feeds into the belief that still gets purported that if by some means we lived in a matriarchy, that there wouldn't be war or violence. And I'm like, you've never spoken to a mother. You have never spoken to a mother, because it's that thing where I saw there was some video on social media where they asked women who were mothers, would you kill for your child? And I was surprised that people thought about it, and some said no, because if you ask me that question, yes, in a heartbeat, and I would feel no fucking remorse, of course. And I think that to believe that a woman won't kill or go to war to make her child's life that little bit safer and better, you don't know mothers. You don't know them.
Yeah, it's almost like the second thought. The first thought you have when you have them is, oh my God, I didn't know I could love anything this much, and this is pretty fucking frightening. And the second thing is, I know already, if anyone tries to harm that, I
hurt my baby and you're in trouble.
Kill you.
You
know it.
I will burn the world down.
So yeah,
I
don't think women are they're not peaceful. I don't really know where that comes from. I mean, again, like
it's the Victorians. I tell you, it would be the Victorians.
I mean, Victorians.
Yeah, it's the Victorian. Because they were all frisky, weren't they? They all had these crinoline dresses and things, and didn't say the word trousers. They had to call them southern necessities because they had delicate ears. It's like it's the bloody Victorians.
Meanwhile, in and around London, there's a bunch of people called the baby farmers. Meanwhile, it's all fucking kicking off. Maybe I think that's what people would love to believe. They would love to believe that women aren't violent, because then they don't feel quite so afraid when they leave them in charge of an iron skillet or arsenic.
Slightly in these people's defences, a lot of this, when they were making those judgments about women not being violent, happened before most women got to the age of menopause.
Good point.
Let's be honest.
I still maintain they
and also there's certain times of the month.
I mean, look, in my early 20s, and my teens, I was feral. I would fight anybody. I was a honey badger. I mean, I have now got some self-control. But in my 20s, no one would have met me in my 20s and be like, she's a gentle soul. They would have they frequently went, oh, she's a biter. Yes, I was. Correct. I did see a question from Leona. What was the most accurate historical drama to watch? And I have a suggestion. I want to hear yours. And we probably should wrap up because we have definitely kept Sharon for too long. But I want to hear your response to this. My tip for most historically accurate drama is Wolf Hall.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
I'm going to go for a different period then, and maybe this is a bit dangerous because I think the Duchess.
Okay,
Duchess of Devonshire.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's quite entertaining anyway, and it probably doesn't get the exact details right, but like as an essence, it's pretty good from what I can tell.
I don't think I know of one, to be honest. I think Wolf Hall
probably,
but then it's biased towards Cromwell. I think I'd have to go with the Elizabeth R from the 70s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I think they were more careful about the historical accuracy then. I mean, they didn't get it all right, but they certainly got the essence of Elizabethan England. And I think it'd have to be that.
Like it.
Anything modern is just so they go off. The one thing Wolf Hall did for me, Anne Boleyn's execution, I thought they did absolutely brilliant with that. I was that really shocked me watching it. It was like, oh my God, I could imagine actually watching her execution. I thought they did really well with that. I think one of the most thoughtful programs that got me thinking, wow, that was stunning, and had me in tears, was the end of Blackadder Goes Forth. Last episode.
Oh God, yeah.
I think that's the real best television.
Yeah, and that came from nowhere as well. It came from nowhere. Yeah,
exactly. Just that last scene, it was just like, it was gobsmacking. It was.
That's a great shout. Yeah.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose whenever I think about like historical fiction and what I think is most accurate, I am thinking costumes, locations, and etiquette. Do I get a feel of what I think the court was like? And that's why I say Wolf Hall. The scene that sticks out in my mind is when Cromwell is sat in a great watching chamber with a bundle of things under his arm to be signed, and he's waiting for someone to notice him. And that kind of sitting around, waiting for some bugger to come out, that is court. Unless you're in the inner sanctum, it's fucking boring. And I think that was for me, that was the most, and it's very much biased towards Cromwell, but I do think in sort of shaping the world, I do feel like you are stepping into a Henrician court, in a realistic way, and the costumes just got that
right,
And Damian Lewis is a great Henry. However, I did really enjoy the most recent one,
Firebrand.
Yes, I enjoyed that Henry.
I just enjoyed the end of Firebrand. I was like, everybody was like, that ending is wrong, and I'm like, no, that's what every single one of us would like to do to Henry VIII.
Yeah, it's a hard right turn away from the historical narrative, but I also thought you got a feel of that fever pitch of the court. I thought that Jude Law as Henry, for me, he's probably one of the best Henrys I've seen.
The best Henry I've ever seen isn't even on telly. He's a guy, John White. He does Henry VIII reenactments, and I think he is just Henry VIII. He's brilliant. If you ever see him anywhere, go and see it. He is absolutely fantastic as Henry VIII.
That sounds terrifying.
He's just got it down. It's brilliant. It's just like, he is the best Henry VIII I've ever seen. And he knows his stuff because he does all the research for it as well. But I've seen him a few times at Gainsborough Old Hall and up at Walkworth once as well. And he's just fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Okay.
Right. Well, Sharon,
Yep.
we will come back to you in just a moment. Thank you so much. But before that, Philippa,
Yes.
what's happening next week?
Next week, we are talking about a lady. Well, I have put forward another trailblazer. Her name is Mary MacArthur, and she was a big noise in the early trade union movement, and especially with getting home workers, which were majority women, a fair wage. So it's quite an interesting story, and I like it because it's to do with my area, my neck of the woods as well. So yeah, Mary MacArthur is next week.
Thank you. Kat, tell us all the things.
Right. If you have enjoyed what you have seen here, then you can show us a variety of ways, but one of them is with money. So if you go over to Buy Me a Coffee, www.buymeacoffee.com/had podcast, you can purchase Winnebagos. You can also purchase a membership to our close friends on the Instagram. That is, you're a close friend if when you see the HAD logo, it's got a green light around it. That means you're a close friend. It also means that Catherine has found, she's gone out like a cat and she has found a mouse of depravity, which is usually some vulgar historical meme or something to do with beavers. And she's put that up and you get to see what our group chat is like. You get to see the inner recesses of Catherine's dirty cesspit of a mind. So it's a good time. Come over there. We also have got a Substack, where we have a variety of things that you can learn about. historyafterdarkhub.substack.com. Information about our merch. As you know, Warboner merch. We've also got our conflict resolution merch. We've got HAD merch. We've got all of your merch needs. Beaver merch. Check it out. Rough beaver merch. No feet free on the internet. Timmy is a problem. The stuff. And no doubt more will come soon. So if you want to do that, go check it out. It's also where you can check us out as a podcast. Now, if you're on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to this channel, like, hit the bell icon, select all, leave a comment, interact in all of the ways, share it, all of that good stuff. If you're doing a podcast, listen, then you have to obviously give us 5 stars and leave a lovely comment. If you don't think we're a 5-star podcast, then you can keep your thoughts to yourself. You know, it's a magical skill. Thank you. ASMR. But do check us out. What else? Oh, if you go into our description box, you will find links to where you can find our other social media where we aren't so dirty as to swear. And Sharon, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on my podcast, A Slice of Medieval with Derek Burks, where we talk about all sorts. And we've had Bernard Cornwell on and Helen Casper. Then we do our own investigations as well. My blog is historyoftheinterestingbits.com. I'm on Facebook as Sharon Bennett Connolly and History of the Interesting Bits. Twitter, Threads as The History Bits. Instagram as Sharon Bennett Connolly. Blue Sky, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. Oh, and I'm on Amazon with 8 of my books are on Amazon, including King John's Right-Hand Lady, the story of Nicholaa de la Haye. Ta-da! Ta-da!
Fabulous.
Thanks so much.
That's amazing. So check all of those things out.
Yes.
Anything else I need to bring up? Have we covered everything?
I think so.
In which case, I'm going to say on behalf of all of us and also behalf of everyone that's watching, thank you once again, Sharon, for giving up this time to chat to us. It's been amazing. And thank you to us about the amazing Nicholaa. And for everybody else, we're going to go soon. So be good. If you can't be good, be careful. And if you can't be careful, for the love of all that is holy, don't leave the jewels in the wash and don't get caught. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Bye.